Hello and welcome to Post-Traumatic Chef Disorder. As far as I know, this is the first cooking show to blend cooking and mental health. My name is Clark Sabo. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, I'm a father, and I'm an avid home cook. So today we're going to be making California burritos. California burritos originated in San Diego in the 1980s. It's a Cal-Mex cuisine. It was one of my favorite comfort foods while I lived in San Diego. While I was in the Marines, they called it the Roach Coach would come by every day and serve like the most delicious burritos you've ever had. So to me, it's just something that brings me joy. So we're going to make that today. This will be a long series. I got other guests lined up. We'll do a bunch of different cuisines. Lined up now, we're going to have a guest on that's famous for kayaking to raise awareness for mental health. We're going to make Skyline chili. That's a Cincinnati style chili on top of spaghetti with cheese. Probably sounds disgusting to some of you that aren't familiar with it, but it's a delicacy here in Ohio. We have a couple, we're going to do a series about 3 ways to cook steak and 3 ways to manage your mental health. We also have a good friend of mine. He's a Marine also, been to Afghanistan, and he's going to come on and show us his Meemaw's cooking. So from the hills of Kentucky, those are going to be a ton of fun. He's a riot to be around. So let's go ahead and get started. So we have 2.5 cups of flour here, about 310 grams, I think. We're going to mix that with a 1/2 cup of lard, which is about 100 grams. So we're going to go ahead and throw all that in the bowl. And then we are going to mix that with a cup of room temperature water. So this will be making our flour tortillas. I think flour tortillas for burritos are much better than corn tortillas. Corn tortillas tend to get brittle, so trying to fold up a burrito, it's just not going to work. The gluten in the flour tortillas helps hold it together, so you can stretch it out. So right now, I'm just mixing this up, so it starts to look shaggy. I don't know if you can see it in the camera there. So it's kind of just not really coming together. I like making dough, bread, tortillas, whatever it is, pie crust. I think it's a good analogy for life and mental health. It's, you take all these ingredients, you put them together, and at first, as you're going to see as I dump it out here, it looks like a mess. It looks disgusting. You think it's never going to turn out. I think everyone's going to look at you and think like, wow, this is as good as he can do. All right. So here we go. We got all the ingredients here. Just a mess on a plate. Those that are on live, we have 2 people viewing. Sweet. I'll hold this up for you. It's just a big mess. But if you have all the right ingredients, we're going to put a little bit of salt in here, enhance our life. When you start mixing it up, get a little energy, a little time. Hopefully, it all comes together. See if we have our first fail on post-traumatic chef disorder. So right now, if you're cooking along with me and you feel this dough, it just feels gross. Like it's all sticky. It's all wet. You can feel the lard in there. It's all greasy. But this is good exercise in mindfulness. For those of you that don't know what being mindful is, every doctor I have seen has asked me to be mindful. It's just trying to be present, connecting with your environment, looking at the smells, feeling the texture. Like, is this dough warm? Is it cold? This one, it's a little warm. It's room temperature. So we're going to keep trying to work this, cut it in, fold it. Hands are going to get gross. The more we work this, just like in life, when we have the right ingredients, things become better. Things become a little smoother. Things look like they're starting to come together. We can see that, hey, maybe there is a tortilla at the end of this. So just keep mixing. Eventually you'll get to the point where it wants to stay together. You know, maybe you got to add a little more flour to it, which I think we might have to do that on this one, because this is pretty wet. You know, it's all going to depend where you are in the environment that you're in. Just like, you know, anything in life, the environment you're in kind of dictates what you need to do, right? Like if you're in a stressful environment, like you're working, you know, 9 to 5, well, you're going to have to add a little bit more exercise or make an effort to get a little bit more sunshine. So, you know, it's going to be like what the flour is with this, is a little extra sunshine. I see we got Erica and Scott watching. How are you guys doing? Erica is in. Oh, thank you. It is a cool apron. I got this from my mom for Christmas. So Erica is in Chicago. Scott is in the middle of nowhere, Indiana. Right now, for those that are watching, I am just mixing tortilla dough. Can you go get the all-purpose flour out of the pantry, please? I got my little brother here behind the camera. You know, I'm just talking about how you gotta get simple ingredients in life, and if you keep working at them, keep adding energy, you know, eventually it's all going to come together. Fortunately, this is a fucking mess right now. I'm gonna wash my hands a little bit. Apparently, we're gonna swear on this show. Guess I just decided that. We got Joe Collins watching. What's up, Joe? What?
Specifically, it's probably going to cut out the video. So.
Oh, that's fine. If I can open this, my hands are all greasy. There we go. So, just going to add a sprinkle of flour on here. Go ahead and keep mixing it up. So, the reason why I wanted to do this show is I struggle with my mental health. And, you know, for years, didn't want to admit it, pretend that nothing was wrong. You know, I would work a shit ton. Dane Sabo's watching. That's good because he's also filming. So yeah, really since the Marine Corps is when I started struggling. So this dough is starting to come together for those of you that are live. Can you angle down at the cooking surface more? Yeah, we could try to angle it down. All right, so now we have our flour. So we're going to start kneading it. You know, you just fold it for now. It's like in sourdough, you do your stretch and folds. It starts to come together. So we'll just do that here. Activate the gluten. Still a little wet, so we might add some more flour to this. But yeah, my mental health has been a struggle, especially over this past year. I'm trying to figure out what works for me. I'm trying to find my community. I've struggled to find it. So I figured I would go out and look for it. I hope to create a community here for people that are struggling the same as me. Maybe you know someone that's struggling and don't quite understand it. Maybe you've never even heard of mental health and you just want to learn more. Like we're going to learn more here. We got lots of guests that want to come on the show. Some are going to be experts. You know, some are psychologists. Some are people just like me that have lived with it. Some people are, you know, their partners suffer from mental health disorders, and you know, that's okay. So this dough is starting to come together. Like it's not really sticking to my hands, which is good. So we're going to go ahead and get in there and knead it. When I knead, I typically use like the palm of my hand. I push down, I kind of roll it a little bit, and then I fold it. So that's what we want to do. It's getting a little sticky again. It's fine. Scrape it up, fold in half, down. All right, and get to the point where you can just get in a rhythm. Eventually in life, you know, you add the right ingredients, you keep going. The ingredients could be different for everyone, you know. There's people that add baking powder in their tortillas. I don't really like to do that because I feel like it makes them rise. And I don't want my tortillas real thick. I want them nice and thin, especially for a burrito. So we still got 2 people watching. Guess we're losing a lot of you. I'm boring. It's fine. Just a little bit more flour here. Try to get this crap off my hands. All right. So we got this kneaded out. Knead it for about 5 minutes. So I guess you're all probably wondering now, like, why do I have a mental health disorder? And what mental health disorders do I have? Mine stem mainly from my time in the Marine Corps. I was sexually assaulted in boot camp. And it's a big reason why I want to start this show, because I know, as I've talked about it through the years with other veterans, with other men that aren't veterans, a lot of them were sexually assaulted too. Something no one talks about. Like male sexual assault, male military sexual trauma is not mentioned anywhere that I know of. There's not really any care. Like we just get lumped into the guys that went to combat. For me, I never went to combat. I got injured early on. So after boot camp and I was sexually assaulted, I really had to go and try to figure out. Hey, we got Eric Morsch and we got Christian Gonzalez watching. What's up, guys? So after the assault happened, I had to make a choice. Like, do I give up? Do I go home? Or do I dig in deep and continue? And we got Erica saying 2/3 of the Marines she knows in Cincinnati have experienced sexual assault too, which is crazy. And people just don't think about it when it comes to men. So I decided to dig in deep and continue and be a Marine. And, I can tell you by the end of boot camp, halfway through, I was dead. Like I felt fucking dead. Like I was throwing up every night. I was coughing up blood. I lost like 20 pounds. I was already pretty thin going in. I was like, I think 165 pounds going in. I'm 6'2", so pretty light. And I pushed on. I became what I think was a really good Marine. I had a 300 PFT, 300 CFT. For those that don't know what that is, that's physical fitness test, combat fitness test. I just really dug in deep. I was at the top of my class. I went to an MOS school, military occupational specialty for communication maintenance. I did really good there. I got to the point where I could program like a whole network in just a few minutes, and I typed the whole code out, and I press enter, and I'd be done. I'd walk away, like explosion in the background. Pushed myself really hard. I would, every time I passed the pull-up bar, I would do a set of 30 pull-ups. I carried 50 pounds on my back everywhere I went to the gym 4 times a day. I really just leaned into being a Marine. And I think at that time, we talk about toxic masculinity. I would say at that time, I became pretty toxic. I can recall times where I was just, like a bully to everyone. I was pissed off in life. I was ready to go and like wanted to go to war, wanted to be a killer, wanted to show everyone what I was made of, and I was better than everyone, that no one would take advantage of me again. And I think I did a pretty good job at that for a while, maybe too good of a job. I remember making other Marines cry just by being an asshole to them. That doesn't make me tougher. It doesn't make me more of a man. It just means I didn't take care of my shit. So I think you got to be accountable for who you are and the things you've done. And, you know, it's in the past. I can't change it. Do I regret it? I have no idea. I don't know how it affected those people, you know, like maybe they moved on, maybe it didn't bother them, but maybe it did affect them. And that I do regret if they're still struggling with the stuff I did. And to anyone out there I may have wronged, I'm sorry. It's on me. You know, like, I think part of this channel I want to talk about being a man. And part of being a man is being responsible for your actions. You know, owning up to your faults, admitting you're wrong. That's one of the hardest things to do, is admitting that you're wrong. I have definitely been wrong many times. It's fine. Like, it's good. It's good to be wrong. Then you can go and find out what's right, discover the truth. You know, it sucks in a marriage when your wife is right. You know, she's going to hold it against you. You know, for a little bit, but you know, eventually you might be right. Broken clock is right twice a day. Like, come on, men, we got this. So still got a couple of viewers. So right now I got the dough pretty much formed. I'm going to start dividing it up into balls. Normally I would weigh these so they're all, you know, nice and perfect. I think right now, probably do these in quarters. I want some pretty big tortillas. I want some big California burritos. So I got 2 there. You know, just take the dough, split it in half again. Go ahead and shape it in a ball. You know what? These balls look huge. I think I'm going to cut them in half again. So we're going to do 8 pieces of dough. And then after this, we're going to move on to the carne asada marinade. Carne asada is probably my favorite Mexican dish, whether it's tacos, it's in a burrito, whether it's on its own. It's delicious. It's more of like a citrusy marinade. And I think that's what makes it unique. There's not a lot of meat you eat that's kind of sweet and citrusy. I think the American palate prefers it more salty and you know, more of that meaty flavor. So I got my 8 balls of dough here. Go ahead and take a cloth, get that damp. I'm going to cover this, and then I'm going to slide this mat out of the way. Right up to you guys. Keep an eye on that. Now we are going to start on our marinade for the carne asada. So I like to just use a blender. Just keep it right here as I'm getting everything ready. Just throw it right in there, and then turn around. And I can grind it up. So for the carne asada, we have 3 oranges. We have 3 limes, 3 ancho chilies, 3 guajillo chilies. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. We have some cilantro. Got about 6 cloves of garlic, about a tablespoon of cumin. We have about a teaspoon of coriander. We have some soy sauce, about 2 tablespoons, about 2 tablespoons of fish sauce, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So what we want to do is we are going to take these peppers. We're going to put them in the microwave and kind of toast them a little bit. Traditionally, this is done on a comal. I believe that's what it's called. It's basically just a really hot stone that they use in traditional Mexican cooking. So you can do it. You can get a cast iron skillet, throw it on the oven, let it cook until they're well toasted, nice and fragrant. Since I'm cooking a show, we're just going to pop it in the microwave for about 30 seconds, and it should start smelling real fragrant. You'll really smell those chilies. I think it smells delicious. Some people might think it's a little potent for them. It's totally fine. If you don't want to use the chili. Hey, Paul Freddy's watching. What's up, Big Al? So for those just tuning in, this is my new cooking show, Post-Traumatic Chef Disorder. We're talking about mental health along with cooking. Little things I picked up along the way. We're going to have lots of guests on here. We're just trying to create a safe community. And while you're here with me, just, forget about all your problems. Nothing matters. Like, we're just here having fun in the kitchen, having a conversation. So these chilies are done. So we're going to go ahead and remove the stems, remove the seeds. It's going to help bring the heat down. I personally like spicy food, but I'm cooking for my wife and son as well. They don't handle the spices as well as I do. So just take your pepper, go ahead and cut it down the middle, open it up. You'll see all of your seeds on the inside. For those on live, there's your seeds. Here's the seeds. Just dump those out. I had some friends in California once. I don't know why. They would always say seeds are bad. So maybe seeds are bad. I don't know. They just hold a lot of the spices and the peppers. So get them out as you clean it, nice and clean, no seeds, no stem. Toss it right in your blender. So we're just going to keep going with that. So back to my journey. I was in the Marines. I was working out constantly. In the gym 4 times a day. I would try to run as much as I could. Every break we got, I would go and do like a set of 30 pull-ups, 30 push-ups, 30 dips, 30 knee raises. I was running away from my problems. I really think that's what it was. And I was running as hard as I can and as fast as I can. And eventually, like, my body couldn't take it anymore. It broke down. I tore my rotator cuff, tried hiding it for as long as I could. Was able to hide it for about 2 weeks. Then we had a PT session that was all ammo can lifts and pull-ups. So for those of you that don't know, an ammo can is a big green container that holds all of our bullets. Hold really any kind of munition. They use them for all sorts of stuff, for storage, whatever. But part of our combat fitness test was being able to do a military press with an ammo can up and down as many times as we could in like 2 minutes. So we're doing ammo can lifts and pull-ups. I told, I think he was a staff sergeant at the time. Can't really remember his name. He was like, "Staff sergeant, I can't do that." And what's up, Andy? How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Told him I can't do that, And he's like, "What are you talking about? You can do more pull-ups and push-ups than anyone I know." I was like, "Yeah, I can't lift my arm." So they told me to go to medical. They're like, "You're going to a new duty station in 30 days. Hey, Dave Bates is watching. How's it going, Dave? Dave's a good friend of mine. He runs Warrior Way Forge up in Lima. They do awesome work with veterans. Eric Van Skyke is watching. How's it going, Eric? Warrior Way Forge is a great veteran nonprofit. They've helped me out. I have a passion for knives. Here's a chef knife I made with Warrior Way Forge. They do lots of cool classes up there. So if you're a veteran or first responder, you want to go and pound a piece of hot metal. It's real cathartic. Feels great. You get, that knife stays sharper than all my other knives. It is tough. First time I used it, actually, I was cutting an avocado and I sliced my finger open. So just be careful. They're a lot sharper than you think, that high carbon steel. I do recommend, if you are going to buy a knife for your kitchen, get a nice one. Go find your local knife maker, have them make it, support a local business. And you'll get a better knife than you can get in any store, even if it's not a high quality knife. Like for me, if I made you a knife, I'd probably sell it to you for like $50. And it'll get the job done. It's just not going to look pretty. It may not, the edge geometry may not be there, but it's still going to probably outperform your shitty kitchen knives. So yeah, back to my story. I was in the Marines, sexually assaulted, went to 29 Palms, was working out constantly, trying to run away from all these negative feelings, trying to hide, hurt my shoulder, went to, my grandma's watching. Hello, Grandma. Went to medical. They told me that they're going to put me on light duty for 30 days so I don't get stuck in 29 Palms. I do think those corpsmen did me a solid. I do think if they had addressed the issue earlier, like maybe I wouldn't have had so many problems. But that's fine. Hindsight is 2020. So after that, they put me on light duty. I couldn't run, just the jostling of the shoulder really hurt. Just lost my life. I'm back. So I started doing squats. I would do like thousands of squats a day. Like, my unit would be PTing for an hour. I would be doing squats and lunges the whole time. I think eventually that led to me tearing my rotator cuff. That is a disgusting orange. I can use that one. So these oranges I got from a Mexican supermarket. They're like sour oranges. I would recommend these if you're making any kind of marinade for Mexican cooking. But yeah, we're just going to go cut these in half, juice them. I'm down one orange. Fortunately, not everything looks as good on the inside as it does on the outside. Yeah, so it's on light duty, doing a bunch of, doing what I can to stay fit. Eventually, I overdid it with my hip. Tore the labrum in my hip. Made it to my next duty station. And so that's kind of like around when I tore my hip was, I don't know, in transit, really was what it was. I remember my dumbass wanting a Frosty so bad that I limped about a mile to Wendy's because we didn't have cars. Well, I had a truck. It didn't work. It was an old 1974 C10. So that was broke down just like me. I wanted a Frosty, so I limped all the way down to Wendy's and back for a Frosty. But when I finally got to check into medical in Camp Pendleton, they looked at me and they're like, "What happened to you, dude? Did you get hit by a car?" They couldn't believe how screwed up I was, and said, "I don't know what happened. I was a Marine, tried hiding it, tried acting like I was tough. Nothing was wrong." For those of you that are tuning in, we are making carne asada burritos, telling a story about kind of my mental health journey in the Marines. So right now we're squeezing oranges. So in Camp Pendleton, when I checked into the duty station, said I can't walk, I can't lift my arm. They immediately assumed I was faking it. Anyone that knew me before them would tell you I absolutely was not faking it. There was something I was good at. It was definitely PT. I could out PT just about anyone. Maybe one guy that could break me. Maybe two guys. Had a gunnery sergeant that just got back from MARSOC. So we were, normally they do like their combat deployment or whatever, and then their next duty station is somewhere like a schoolhouse, which is where I was. So I really wanted to do MARSOC because of him. MARSOC is like the Navy SEALs, but Marine Corps. So yeah, they told me I was faking. Definitely wasn't faking. Now we're going to add our limes to this marinade. So we're making a marinade for a carne asada for those that are just tuning in. Yeah, they said I was faking. Wouldn't really help me. They're like, yeah, we'll put you on light duty so you can get out of PT. Like, I don't need help getting out of PT, dude. Like, I want a PT. Eventually got to the point where my commanding officer had to take control, and he had to go to medical and tell him that, hey, like, you need to help my Marine. I see him every day. He comes to work. He's limping. He can't walk around. Maybe it just annoyed him to look at, a gimpy Marine. I don't know, but he went. He had my back. Excuse me. So medical is like, all right, we'll help you. We'll check you for a hernia. Hey, Debbie. Debbie's tuning on from San Diego. Debbie, we are making California burritos, so this should be right up your alley. Debbie was a friend of mine out in California. Her and her family were really good friends of mine. Hang out with them all the time. Great people. Lost my train of thought a little bit. Debbie will do that to you. Yeah, so they brought me into medical, and they're like, yeah, we're going to help you out. We're going to check you for a hernia, but we're going to use it as training. And it was kind of the senior chief at medical was his way of, just saying, F you, like, you don't tell me what to do. So he had all of the other corpsmen come in the room and maybe drop trowel, right? That was probably the least traumatic of the things that happened to me in the Marine Corps. That's something I kind of just remembered recently talking to someone. But from then on, lots of tests, x-rays, this and that, MRIs. No one could really figure out what was wrong with me. I heard constantly that too young to have a tear. It can't be a rotator cuff tear. It can't be a labral tear. It can't be this. It can't be that because of your age. Your age doesn't have anything to do with it. I think that's pretty obvious. Just like your age doesn't have anything to do with mental health. You could be a mentally healthy person your whole life, and then all of a sudden a crisis happen, and you have a mental break. It happens. It could be 80 years old. It could be 5 years old. You could be born like it. So now we got our chilies in there. We got our lime juice. We got our orange juice. We're going to add some cilantro. Oh, excuse me. I am talking way too much. With your cilantro, a lot of the flavor comes from the stems. Some of you may not like it. It tastes like soap. I used to think it tastes like soap. I like cilantro now. You'll get over it. Maybe you won't. That's fine. Just make sure your stems are look fresh. If they don't look fresh, cut those off. Just go ahead and twist it, break it up, throw that in your marinade. We're going to add some cumin. So that's about a tablespoon of cumin. Got about a teaspoon of oregano. We got 6 cloves of garlic. Can you try to slide that camera back a little bit? We got about 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. It's going to add like a lot of umami flavor in there. Same with the soy sauce too, actually. And the soy sauce is going to help like season it with saltiness. And then we got olive oil. About 2 tablespoons of that. So from there, we are going to blend our marinade. So if you got headphones on, if you're listening from home, if you got a kid sleeping, I would turn the sound down because this is loud. I will say the cilantro up here isn't really going to mix. So maybe try pushing it down. You can take the lid off and shove a fork in there or whatever. All right, so we're going to turn this on. I always start mine on low. What? Mixed up. What we're going to do now is we're going to take our beef. Excuse me, I need to drink water here. Hey, you a chef now? Good on you. Buzz, I am pretending to be a chef. I am not a chef. I have had no formal training. I just like cooking. It's a passion of mine, and I want to share it with people because I think it's got me through some hard times or got some rough days, and I can just go and be real mindful in my cooking. And that's what I encourage you guys to do is find something. You know, every doctor I've seen, you know, therapist, counselor, psychiatrist, whatever, they tell me to be mindful. I think it's hard to be mindful for me to just sit there and be in my head. So I had to be doing something, but you can be actively mindful. And I don't think that's something that I've ever really heard from a doctor. So whether it's like riding a motorcycle, I see Joseph Solomon, he just signed on. You know, if you're kayaking, you can be mindful of kayaking. Like think of the water flowing around you, hear the water, feel the water, you know, feel the sun on your face, listen to the birds, you know, listen to the water rushing. You know, maybe, you know, take a deep breath, see what it smells like outside, see what your food smells like. You know, feel the texture of whether it's the beef, whether it's the flour, whether it's, you know, you're cooking with lard, feel the texture. So I remember I was, Roy Choi is, he's one of my favorite chefs. If you've seen the movie Chef, he was the chef behind the scenes. He's got Koji tacos out in LA. One of these days I'm going to get out there and try it. Actually might be going out there during spring break. Apologize again for coughing. Yeah, so I was making this Korean coleslaw, and I remember chopping up the vegetables and just kind of mixing them all up and just really feeling like the different texture of like the carrots and the cabbage and, you know, like the temperature of it. I was like, holy shit, I'm being mindful. You know, this is what my doctors have begged me to do for years, is to be mindful, be present, be in the now, you know. Let my problems just go away for, you know, 10 minutes even. You know, a 10-minute break can be huge, you know, for any of us, all of us. So what we're going to do now is I got about 2 pounds of skirt steak. Depending on the butcher you go to, they might be thicker. This is cut pretty thin, if you can see it. This is what I think of when I think of carne asada, is, you know, thinly cut steak. If you go to any Mexican supermarket, and, you know, they'll have a cut like this most likely. If you go to the grocery store, you're probably going to get a thicker cut of skirt steak, which is fine. You can use that too. A lot of people prefer the thick cut. If you want to make, you know, the same carne asada recipe and you don't want to put in a burrito, and you just want steak, I think a nice thick cut would be delicious. You know, cook it medium rare, medium, whatever suits you. You know, it's not like this is exclusive to California burritos. This translates everywhere you go. It'll be delicious. So we're going to take a half our marinade here. We're going to put a little bit of extra salt in here because we want to help season and tenderize that beef. And then if I look on here, I'm at about a 2. So I'm just going to pour it in until I get to about a 1. I see Bill Swanson's in here. You know, Joseph is agreeing with me about the mindfulness. So we're going to dump about half of that in. Looks like about half. If you wanted to, dump the whole thing in. It's fine. I like to reserve some for after I cook it. I could go and put it on top. It makes a delicious sauce. You can dip chips in there. It is delicious. Hi, Bill. So right now, I just put the marinade in the bag for the carne asada. For those of you that are coming in and out and just tuning in, like I'm on TikTok and YouTube. If you want to find this recipe or this whole video, it'll be on there. So I like to squeeze all the air out of the bag. For me, it just seems like it distributes everything a little bit better. I'll kind of flatten it out. And then turn it upside down, try to spread apart that meat in there. Try to get that marinade all over everything. So this is another example of a time you can be mindful. Me just feeling this, I can feel my marinade is warm from being in the blender. My meat is cold. I feel the plastic, you know, I can feel it right here. It's just like real, you know, juicy. Down here it feels, you know, firm and meaty. So we're gonna keep mixing all that up. Mix, mix, mix. You know, keep turning it over. What I'm doing right now is I'm trying to see, like, this right here isn't really covered. On this side I have good coverage, so I'm just gonna try to shake some of that marinade, spread it over there. If you can't get everything covered, it's not a big deal. It's gonna taste delicious either way. So, bag just bursted open. I would be careful about that. Almost had a big mess on our hands. Seal that back up. Wipe this down. All right. So I guess from here we'll go to making them French fries. So it's one of the ingredients in a California burrito. It's carne asada. It's French fries. Kathy Joe's on. Hi, Kathy Joe. So carne asada, French fries, guacamole. I like sour cream in mine. Some people put pico de gallo in there. And then normally like Montgomery Jack cheese. So that's what we're going to use. All wrapped up in a delicious burrito. So we're going to go ahead, throw this in the fridge. I would do this the night before. I usually let mine marinate around 24 hours. I have a batch that we're going to cook up. It's been marinating overnight in the fridge, so I'm going to pop this in there. All right, and then this extra sauce, we'll just put it in a container and save it for later. Wash my hands. Let's see here. Go ahead and dump all this in. Maybe use a spoon, spatula. Make your life easy. Work smarter, not harder. So, you know, back on my my mental health journey. So I'm in the Marines, you know, I'm getting checked for everything. They can't find anything wrong with me. They don't know why I can't walk. They don't know why my arm doesn't work. Remember, you know, one day going to medical in the smart clinic. It's debatable on how smart that clinic is. You know, they told me I would never walk again, never have use of my right arm, that I couldn't be a Marine anymore. And gosh, I could tell you at the time, it crushed me. It still crushes me today. Something really hard I had to go through. You know, it's just like I put all this effort into being a Marine, and being told I can't be a Marine anymore was like the worst thing I could hear. But I'm stubborn. So I used to wake up every day and I would tell myself, today is the day that doctor is wrong. And I realize this audio is probably screwed up because I'm trying to watch this and talk at the same time. Oh well. So I kept fighting, kept battling back, and I got to the point where I could do pull-ups again and I could run again. I saw a hip specialist. She reset my hip. She popped it back in place. It's nice and painful. But yeah, I was like, you know, maybe I get to stay in the Marine Corps because it was the one place I felt like I belong. And they told me no. You know, they're like, we don't know what's wrong with you. We don't know if this is going to happen again. So they told me they were going to medically retire me and I couldn't be a Marine anymore. It's fine. I think in hindsight, it was probably the best thing for me. Not like we're in like an active war at the time. This was back in 2012. Had we got deployed anywhere, I don't know. I wanted to do MARSOC, so there's a good chance I probably would have saw some combat. I am thankful I didn't see combat though. So yeah, I got out of the Marines. I met the first girl that took interest in me when I got out. Started dating her, married her, had a kid with her. We were married for about 4 years. Ended up getting a divorce. That was really hard. I don't blame her for anything. We were both young. We were both dumb. Probably shouldn't have gotten married in the first place. We had a kid together. He was just an amazing kid. He's so empathetic and sweet. He helps take care of me all the time. But moving on from that, so I kept trying to run and hide from my problems. We're going to start on the sauces and grab all the veggies. I don't know what our runtime is right now, but I feel like I've been on here for a while, so we might take a break here. I was talking about Chef Roy Choi earlier. We are actually going to make his salsa verde recipe. We'll use that same blender we were using earlier. So a little bit of cilantro, not a little bit, like a whole head. Throw it all in there. We're going to do a lime. Yeah, we might have to take a break, get set up differently because some of this has to be cooked on the grill. So we're going to pause. We'll be back. We're going to figure stuff out. Go take a break. Go take a walk. Be happy. We'll see you all in a minute. With post-traumatic chef disorder, this is my cooking channel about cooking and mental health. I am making California burritos. We had just made some tortillas, and we made carne asada, which we have marinating. Now we're going to move on to like the filling. So I'm going to do the guacamole. I'm going to do the pico de gallo. I'm going to make a salsa verde, and we're going to make French fries. We're going to try to do all that as quick as we can. So I'm going to talk less about my mental health. We'll get into it. This won't be the only episode. We're going to see how much we can get done in maybe about 20 minutes, and then we're going to have to sign off. So anyone that's joined us so far, thank you. Listeners on YouTube, thank you for listening. I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get into the guacamole. So we're going to take 1 onion. Go ahead and cut that in half. This way you get a nice flat surface. Sometimes I like to try to cut it before so you get this core out. This is where, makes you want to cry. Never cried on camera before, so this might be a first. It'll be fun. We'll see. So cut that core off, toss it, cut the top off, toss it. So this is called top and tailing. It's what, you'll hear anyone in a restaurant say. So top, tail, got the core, toss that. So we're going to go ahead and peel the skin off of this. Skins can be hard to peel. I feel like I usually end up peeling the top layer with it. It's fine. Like, it's a little waste. Throw it in compost. Use it. You can use it to make a stock. Whatever you decide you want to use it in. Like, you could dehydrate it, put it in a blender, make onion powder. The skin of garlic. People actually just take that and dehydrate it and make garlic powder out of that. So So we're going to go ahead and to cut this. So what I do is you can see the lines on the onion. I normally cut with those lines, turn it 90 degrees. I'll make 3 cuts perpendicular to those lines, and then I'll go through and I'll chop it all. I find that I can get a pretty nice dice doing it that way. If you want the dice a little thicker, just adjust the increments that instead of doing 100 cuts, do 50 cuts. So go ahead, keep your fingers tucked. Go ahead and start chopping away. Like I said, I like mine to be pretty finely diced. So yeah, just do that. And we're going to turn it 90 degrees, make a few cuts in here. Now we're going to chop it. Always, use your claw. Your claw is going to protect your finger. You can't cut anything like this. You use this as a rest, guide your knife. Your fingertips aren't exposed. We don't want anyone going to the hospital. You guys didn't sign waivers to be here, but I'm not going to be responsible for it. So go ahead and chop. Kind of use like I have a cousin that's a chef. He always told me kind of like a train. They're slicing, so kind of like rotating, just like a train would. If you can't go fast, go slow. All right, you can go nice and slow. Make sure you get this exactly how you want it. You can go real fast. I'm not real fast at this. Julia Child famously, I don't know how accurate it is, but at least in her movie, she was at the Escoffier cooking school or whatever in France, and she was chopping onions, and they said she wasn't fast enough. So there's a video of her with a big amount of onions that she chopped just to get quicker at it. Speed will come with time and practice. So don't worry about going quick. My son makes guacamole. He makes really good guacamole. It's the same way I do it, except he just throws it all in the blender and blends it. We have a blender that's like a food processor that he uses. So he kind of chops everything up. If that's what you got to do, totally fine. Doesn't matter. It's not going to really affect the taste. You're doing this for you, so it's whatever suits you. So we'll go ahead and chop up this other half. This onion is starting to make me cry. Thank you guys for being here with me on this emotional day. Onion lives matter. It's something we can all cry over. Thinking about the movie Shrek, onions have layers. People have layers too. We're not what we seem on the surface. I think for me, that kind of resonates. I think if you saw me on the street, you saw me at a restaurant, whatever, you would look at me. I'm 6'2". Right now I'm recovering from back surgery, so I'm not super fit, but I try to stay pretty fit. You look at me and you assume that, hey, he's a totally normal functioning person. Why is his wife getting the groceries or whatever? We can make these assumptions. I do it all the time. If you do it, it's fine. Don't feel guilty about it. It's just something we can think about and work on. But, I think from the outside, I look like a totally healthy person. Now I have my physical ailments. My shoulder screwed up. I've had shoulder surgery. I've had hip surgery. Just had back surgery. Got cleared 6 days ago to start moving around again. So you don't see the battle that people have inside them. And, I kind of equate mine to a storm. I feel like I just have a massive hurricane in there. And, I try to keep people within the eye of that hurricane, try to contain it. Here it's calm, just stay in this contained spot that I want you. And once you get outside of that, I can't control it. And you're going to get exposed to it. So, back to what Shrek says, onions or ogres are like onions. They have layers. People have layers too. So just try to give people a little bit more grace. So now I'm cutting up an avocado. So for this, lay it on the cutting board. Don't hold it in your hand. Lots of ERs have what they call avocado hand. People cut themselves open all the time, have to go get stitches. We don't want that. Also, hold your knife properly. You hold it like this. You don't hold it all the way down here like that. It's not a sword. It's an instrument. So go ahead and pinch right here. And the blade, your 3 fingers are around here. Keep pressure. It should be an extension of your arm. So what you're going to do is put it on the cutting board, put your hands on either side, and put your knife right in the middle. Slice down, and you're going to feel that seed, and just rock your knife around. All right, and you can pick it up and just real gently turn it. This is why a sharp knife is so important in the kitchen. So you cut it around, twist it, and voila, there's your avocado. Earlier you saw me take the knife and dig it right into there. That's just a habit. What you can do is just push it, and the seed will come right out. You might lose a little bit of avocado. That's fine. This is all going to get mashed up, so don't worry about it looking pretty. So we got our seeds. So we're going to go ahead, get a spoon, and you just scoop this whole thing right out. It's very simple. Skip it right out into here. Got a little bit of the skin in there. It's fine. Things happen. We can fix it. I don't know what would happen if you ate the skin. It's probably high in fiber. If someone wants to look that up and let us know, I'd be interested in learning. So just take the spoon in. I feel like I typically start at the bottom. It's a little easier. You can rock it around and you just see it releasing. And just do a big scoop. Plop it right in there. If your avocado is a little more firm, they should be kind of soft, kind of firm when you go to the store and you squeeze it. If it's a little firm, you can dice it up. It helps get out of there a little easier. So we got our avocado in. We got our onion in. I got these giant plump Roma tomatoes. I don't know where they got these because they are not in season around here. We're just going to cut those up. So for me, when you start cutting this, you see like all the seeds in here and how it's like juicy and messy. I don't like that in my guacamole. So you can see it here. This is just runny, messy. I'll typically cut this out. You can use a spoon. It scoops out real easy. It's probably the safest way to do it if you're new in the kitchen. So we'll go through. Recommend a bench scraper. Because right now I got a mess of yucky seeds on my cutting board. Just scrape it up, get it out of the way. You want to try to keep a clean work surface if you can. I'm terrible at it. I think if any trained chef were to come in here and look at how I cook, they would judge me, and I want to blame them. That being said, I have cooked with a trained chef before, and it was a lot of fun. So if you get a chance to, you can pick up a lot. Like I was kind of his gopher. It was my cousin, Chad. He was the trained chef. He was just spent the first hour sharpening his knives. So that's just how it goes, but you'll learn a lot. It's fun. I'm a little bit more relaxed. I've taught people in the kitchen before. I've taught people how to make shepherd's pie. Maybe cooking classes is something I do down the road. But yeah, so we're just removing all those seeds right now. Switching back and forth through knives. Cut the top of it off, get the stem out. If you cut off to one side or the other, you can kind of expose the seeds a little bit better. This time around, we're gonna use the spoon, right? Like we can pivot, we can change, we can make adjustments in cooking and in life. We're in control, We may not always be fully in control of the situation we're in. We may be stuck at work, maybe stuck with family obligations that we don't like. Maybe in a relationship that we think sucks. You can find things in your control though. Like you can control how much sleep you get sometimes. You can control how you eat. You can control staying hydrated. My wife likes to say we are like complicated houseplants. We need water and sunlight. Make sure you get those every day. So I got the seeds out of these Roma tomatoes. What I'm going to do is cut them into like matchsticks. Then I'm going to dice it. So whatever side feels more stable, if that side doesn't feel it, flip it. And just, cut it in little strips. They're going to look kind of like a wedge fry. And after that, just turn it 90 degrees, cut it the other way. How thick these are, it all depends on you. You might not even want tomatoes. You might not like tomatoes. Don't put it in your guacamole. Typically, I would put garlic in here. I don't have garlic on hand right now. I mean, I do. It's just over there. So I'm not going to put garlic in it. It's still going to taste fine. It's delicious, no matter what. I think a lot of times, you see me in here cooking, you might be wondering, how much of this do I use? How much of that do I use? Whatever you want. It's your recipe. The stuff we're cooking today, aside from the tortillas, which if you watch me make the tortillas, I started with what I thought was good and had to add a bunch more flour to it. You could adjust it however you want, however suits you. This isn't baking. It's not a science. It's not chemistry. Something that should just make you happy. Again, we'll go back into talking about mindfulness. What does the tomato feel like? What does it smell like? Maybe give it a taste. Listen to the sound of your knife chop. I've found since I started doing cooking videos that I'm way more in tune with sounds while I'm cooking, because I try to get that ASMR. Always want to know what everything. Hey, there we go. Tim's on. What's up, Tim? Claudia was on. Oh, Tim was on. He's gone now. But yeah, you're in control in the kitchen. If you don't have anywhere else in life, you can be in control. You're in control of your knife. You're in control of the ingredients. They can't do anything that you don't tell it to do. So go ahead and we'll put that in there. Got a couple tomatoes. Squeeze some lime in there. This is just going to be a super, super basic guacamole. You can throw cumin in there. Throw a little bit of cilantro in there. I would recommend some salt, some pepper, throw some cayenne in there, throw a little bit of hot sauce in there. Doesn't matter. It's all preference. Throw a little bit of salt in, just a pinch, throw some pepper in. And we might need to add some more avocado. I got some. I'll probably add it later off camera. And you're just going to go ahead and mash it. This is the fun part. Think about what makes you angry. Push down real hard. The struggles like, oh, I can't, pay my bills this month, or oh, my boss sucks, or, I'm tired of dealing with this or that. Focus on that. Push it in there. Think about it. And then release. Let it go. You're making something delicious that should make you happy. So we're getting this mashed up. Our cilantro, salt, tomato, pepper, onion, and of course avocados. This one's going to be real oniony, which is fine. I'm going to add more avocado to it later. Try and get through these sauces. Hopefully we can get to the French fries. Hopefully we can get to the tortillas. If not, don't worry, I'll post a video about it. I got you guys. All right, so we get that mixed up. Give it a little stir. So, yeah, that was a giant onion I had. So, really need a lot of avocado to offset that. But, if you can look, pretty pale in color. You can see a lot of onion in there. You can see some tomato. It's preference. My cilantro is thick. If you want it real thin, chop it up more. If you want to just use the stems of the cilantro, that's perfectly fine. I've heard stems are where most of the flavor is. So use the stem. So we're going to put that aside. Next, we're going to make a quick pico de gallo. So we're just going to do tomato, onion. Got to be careful with what peppers I'm using because I'm cooking for my family. So I'll probably do a jalapeno. Probably do some Roma tomatoes. So these giant Roma tomatoes too. Throw some cilantro in there, some salt, pepper. Like these salsas are fun. You can do whatever you want with them. So with a jalapeno, I'll typically take the head off, slice it down the middle, take a spoon, scoop out all those seeds and the stems, or the veins, whatever you want to call them. And that's going to take a lot of the heat away. I think fresh jalapeno can be a little spicy. So if you think it is too, that's fine. So I got it cut in half. I'm just going to take my spoon and I'm going to scrape. I will say, doing this, you got to be careful. I remember in the kitchen as a kid with my mom making pizza. We used to do pizza every Friday night. I still do that tradition today with my son and my wife. We do pizza every Friday night during the summers, or when it's warmer out. Sometimes I'll make pizza. We'll do an episode eventually on pizza. But I remember scraping jalapenos, and I had a seed fly and hit me in the eye. Man, it hurt. It hurt for like hours. It burned. And even after you like the oils from these jalapenos will stay on your hands. So I recommend after you cut that, unless you want to toughen your eyes up, which is what I've done. I can't tell you how many hot peppers I have rubbed in my eyes. Wash your hands with soap and water. Get all that hot oil off of it. So these you can cut however you want. I'm going to start lengthways. I'm going to cut, vertically and then rotate it 90 degrees and cut it horizontally and get some nice little cubes. I find that if you mix these up well enough, like obviously if you eat it now on its own, it's going to be pretty hot. My son's 8 years old. He has a decent spice tolerance. If I mix this up in like a salsa verde or pico de gallo or even some guacamole, there's usually enough in there to kind of tame the heat. So I wouldn't really worry too much about putting a jalapeno in. As far as peppers go, I don't really like. Yes, it's hot, spicy, but I don't think it's too spicy. I think most people can handle a little bit of it. And the flavor's delicious. I have a brewery down the street from here that has this jalapeno lager. I don't like spicy drinks, but it's almost like a Corona with jalapeno infused in it. It's delicious and gives you a little heat in the back of the throat, but nothing too crazy. So just go ahead and dice these up. Probably a good idea to do these last. I like to think of things in order of what's going to make the biggest mess on my cutting board. Especially if you got to put meats on there. Cut all of your fresh produce, veggies, fruits, whatever you're cutting on there. Do that first, then throw the meat on. Then you don't have to worry about cleaning your cutting board until the end. As far as food safety goes, I have no idea if that's how they do it in kitchens, but that's how I do it in mine. And I've only made one person sick, so I think we're doing pretty good. So go ahead and cut your Roma tomatoes. Again, you want to get these stems out. So what I do is I cut just past the stem, and then you can make one cut to get that out. Be efficient. So I said you can make one cut. You can just cut at an angle like that. I typically go and cut like a triangle into here. I get that out, it comes right out. Missed a little bit on this one, so take that out. If you want to leave it in there, it's your food. It's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's just how I do it. Again, I like to take these seeds out. So we're going to bring this over here, scoop them out. I'm not going to cut all these tomatoes now. I got like 400 tomatoes here, it seems like. This will be stuff I do off camera for dinner tonight. But just kind of showing you basic principle of how to make some pico de gallo. With California burrito, it's kind of like Chipotle. You can put whatever you want in there. Go down the line. I think mental health is like that too. So I've gone through, I just finished doing TMS, which is transcranial magnetic stimulation. The thought behind that is it's supposed to open the synapses in your brain. It's like an old road that hasn't been used that kind of goes through and paves the roads for you so you can start using them again. My brain activity has definitely increased. I've also done exposure therapy. I've done ketamine infusions. I've done all sorts of prescription medications. Got my medical marijuana card. I tried that for a little bit. I didn't really like it. I don't like being high. But for me, I thought it was a good tool. I'm like, all right, I need to go to the store. I need to go, somewhere. I would take a hit in my pen. I would go there. It would help keep my symptoms down so I could train my brain into realizing that the store directly behind your house is safe. I used to have these awful panic attacks just going in the store, and I thought there's something wrong with me. I think, anyone would. But it's kind of embarrassing, it's like this big, tough, ex-Marine, 6'2", 200 pounds. I should be able to go to the store, no problem, especially one directly behind my house. Yeah, I can do it. So just give yourself some grace. It's going to take time to retrain your body and your mind. I still like to sit with my back against the wall. I like to see my exits and entrances. I'll always face a door. If people, if I'm not facing a door, I tend to scan. Tend to do it even if I am facing a door. So yeah, go ahead, cut up some tomatoes. Probably do 2 more. Pico de gallo. I feel like it could be more wet, so maybe I won't clean the seeds out of these. We'll speed this up. So you can just chop it into wedges. Go back and cut it. Maybe it's a little chunkier. That's fine. Then you can go back, dice it again, right? And there's all sorts of different ways to do this. Like they say, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. If you have cats, I'm sorry. I've never skinned a cat before. I don't really like them. I'm allergic. So if you want to skin a cat, probably seek out mental help. Yeah, so just get these cut up. So, obviously, the less attention you have to your ingredients, the quicker it's going to be. So if you don't care about the seeds and the core, just chop it up. This one's a little thicker, so I'm going to cut down the middle. I can still get my little matchsticks. Still get an even dice. That's what I want. I think pico de gallo is also called salsa fresca, if anyone's wondering. There's no real recipe to it. You can find some. Some restaurants obviously have better salsa than others. There's a bunch of different ways. you know, I have another recipe that I use. It's for like a, what is it called? Salsa bruta or whatever. But char everything on the grill. Then you get like a lot of smoky flavor in it. And then if you put it in a mortar and pestle, or as I believe they call it in Mexico, molcajete, correct me if I'm wrong, grind it up in there, really break down that skin, makes a real good salsa. Do one more tomato in here. And then from here, we're going to move on. I'll move on to the cilantro. And then it's pretty much basic pico de gallo, you know, and these are all just basic recipes, right? You can go way into it. You can add whatever herbs and spices you want. You know, if you want to go all KFC and find your 7 herbs and spices, you add everything, like, do it. I encourage it. Roy Choi, who I talked about earlier, you know, he talks about having your mother sauces. It's the sauces that you find that you use most in cooking. So that comes from French cooking, is they have their 4 mother sauces. Can't tell you what they are off the top of my head. But so this time, instead of using the leaves, we're going to use more of the stems in this pico de gallo. Just go ahead and chop some up. Doesn't matter how much. Just depends on your preference. I think that much looks good. That's what I'm going to use. It's going to be delicious either way. You know, all the ingredients we're putting in here can be good on their own. I'm going to put a pinch of salt. Put a little bit of pepper in there. Like I said, some cumin, if you want to put that in, some oregano. Put some lime in there. I think lime in most sauces is good. That citrus really helps bring out the flavor and balance everything. Just give it a good squeeze. Give it a stir. All right. So now we got our pico de gallo. Set that to the side. Moving on from there, I guess we'll move. We'll have to rotate. So salsa verde is going to be in another episode. I'm trying to look at the time. Yeah, we're running out of time, so everything's going to be in another episode. If you join me today, I appreciate it. If you stayed this long in the video, I appreciate it. Much love to all of you, and thank you for tuning in to Post-Traumatic Chef Disorder.